The TV remote is a device that you probably don't think much about. I mean, they're usually just a boring gray blob covered in buttons. But it doesn't have to be that way, because recently I discovered the niche industry of 90s novelty universal TV remotes. An entire hidden world of some of the most ridiculous gizmos imaginable. I never would have thought something as simple as a TV remote could be pushed to such an absurd level. And sometimes they don't even look like TV remotes at all. But the most surprising revelation of it all is that even though these tacky devices were made in the 90s, they still work on modern TVs, which is just insane to me. So in my endless pursuit of doohickey knowledge, I just had to collect and review these things. I want to know what they feel like to hold, what it's like to actually use, and test out how functional they really are on a modern smart TV. Can I finally replace my boring default remote with one of these, or do they deserve to stay in the 90s and 2000s? Alright, first off, let's take a look at the Telemania Spin Master Reel 2000, a full-fledged fishing rod themed TV remote. And they fully committed to the bit with this thing. There's a whole reel and everything, it's crazy. If you were a dad in the 90s and you wanted a fishing themed man cave, this TV remote is for you. Obviously we gotta test this doohickey out, so let's pop in some batteries. Literally 4 AAA batteries, his greed sickens me. In the little manual, you get some tutorials on how to actually pair it to the TV, and after following some basic instructions, there's a massive list of codes for every single TV brand. I have a Samsung Smart TV that was literally made in 2024, probably over 2 decades after this remote was manufactured. But alas, after finding the Samsung code in the manual, it freaking works. 2 completely different eras of technology and design are working together in harmony. This is so beautiful. Anyways, after finally using it, you'll immediately notice that it makes freaking sounds too. Every single button press plays the most obnoxiously loud fishing rod sound effect. And the power button plays a whole thing. Just listen to this.
Reel it in.
I love how just a random disembodied voice says, reel it in. It's so stupid. But speaking of the reel, you might be wondering, what does it actually do? Well, it turns out the reel is a freaking volume slider. If you hold down the trigger and crank the reel, it slowly but surely adjusts the volume depending on what direction you do. This is the most ridiculous and inconvenient volume slider I've ever seen in my life, and I love it so much. And it also plays even more obnoxious sound effects too. And for some reason, you can also change the channel with the reel too, because depending on if you last press the volume button or the channel button will change which one it does. Also, these sound effects are so freaking loud and obnoxious that they put an entire button on the side to mute them. But that's lame to press that button. You gotta keep them on to get that fully immersive fishing experience, just the way the director intended. Anyways, it's pretty amazing that it does actually work on my modern smart TV, but it really is from the 90s because none of these buttons are even useful anymore. And it also completely lacks the most essential smart TV buttons, the arrows. So you just can't navigate any of these menus, like, at all. The only thing this old guy can do nowadays is just change the volume and the channel. Oh, and also turn on and off the TV. But that's pretty much it. This thing is completely useless. I really do appreciate the fact that they fully committed to making such a ridiculous design actually work, completely inventing the world's first fishing reel volume slider in the process. It's so unnecessary, but that's the whole point of this item. Just pure whimsy without any consideration for normal design standards. But if fishing is too boring for you, I get it, it's fine. So how about a different boring activity, like golf? I present to you the Golf Universal TV Remote, an absolutely essential item for anybody who's addicted to watching golf on TV for some reason. I love how this remote just looks like you're holding an entire golf course in the palm of your hand. The way the button layout itself is used as the terrain is genuinely so freaking creative. There's a big old golf ball as the power button, the different grassy areas and the forest surrounding the course, the rough patches, an entire lake, and finally a little hill of buttons with a flag on top. I just love how whimsical this is. I can like imagine a little guy running around playing golf on my remote. After shoving in some batteries, I am delighted to inform you that yes, there's even more annoying sound effects on every single button press. First off, the power button plays a whole 5-second long sound. And the other ones just do a swing sound effect. And the first hill buttons play this hole-in-one sound effect. And these ones just play the guy yelling. Once again, these are so ridiculously annoying that there is a dedicated mute switch, but once again, you're very lame if you mute them. There's also, unfortunately, the same level of functionality as the previous remote. All you can really do is turn on the TV and change the volume and channel. I still can't believe they turned a freaking TV remote into an entire golf course landscape. Like, from a design standpoint, this is genuinely impressive. But if you're not impressed by a whole golf course in your hand, what about an entire football field instead? This is the Sports Clicker NFL TV remote, and the main gimmick of this doohickey is that it comes with a bunch of football team stickers, so you can put your favorite football team on the remote. But I don't really know much about football, so I'll just pick a random one and slap it on. Any football fans watching this can fight about it in the comments. And look at that, it's a whole football field complete with a giant football on the front. I also love how they aligned the button colors to represent two football teams in the middle of a game, the red team versus the blue team. After popping in some batteries, I regret to inform you that this time there's no annoying sound effects. I'm actually disappointed about this. What's the point of using a stupid looking TV remote without annoying ass sound effects? That's it, let's move on to a different football TV remote, the football TV remote. After opening it up, this remote is literally just an actual football. It's squishy, it's bouncy, and all the buttons are inside it. There's also some receiver thingies jutting out of the football that look really gross. Anyways, in order to put in the batteries, you have to do surgery on the football. It's actually pretty satisfying to press the buttons, but unfortunately, they once again don't make any sound effects. But there is one button right here that is solely dedicated to making a sound effect.
Are you ready for some football?
Are you ready for some football? This button doesn't even do anything. That's literally all it does. It's a dedicated sound effect button with one voice line. Literally, what is the point of this? Before I watch football, I always make sure to press this button a few times just to make sure I'm ready.
Are you ready for some football?
Yes, I'm so ready for some football. Oh my god. Oh my god. This is also just such a weird remote to use. It's literally shaped like an entire football, so holding it with one hand and trying to press the buttons is very uncomfortable. And whenever you set it down, it just rolls away. Like, I wonder if there's football fans out there that were actually using this thing. There's also one more football TV remote, but it's just plastic, so it's not really that interesting. The design isn't too crazy either. But what is interesting is the fact that it belongs to the Remote Out of Control series, a series of 3 silly TV remotes released in 1996, all of which were designed by the infamous Dan Klitzner, the guy who literally invented Bop It. And fun fact, the iconic Bop It toy was originally supposed to be a TV remote. It would have been this silly Nickelodeon branded remote called the Channel Bopper. And the main gimmick is that if you wanted to change the channel with this gizmo, you would literally need to smack it on a table over and over again like a hammer, which is honestly genius. That sounds like so much fun to mess around with. There was even gonna be silly sound effects and twistable knobs too. It's such a creative idea that blurs the line between toy and TV remote. I really wish I was in the alternate timeline where I could just start reviewing the Channel Bumper TV remote right now, but unfortunately the design was so overcomplicated that it got rejected. So instead the idea was adjusted into the legendary toy known as Bop It. But thankfully he came up with a bunch of other TV remote designs, and 3 were actually produced in 1996. I present to you, again, the Remote Out of Control series. We got the football remote and the couch potato remote, which are both not really that interesting to be honest. And finally, the legendary pizza TV remote. This device is the stupidest looking TV remote I've ever seen. It's just such a messy and gross looking design, I love it so much. My favorite part is how every single button is a different ingredient on the pizza. It ends up being such a chaotic mess of randomly shaped buttons all spread out over this triangular pizza slice shape. Also, the shape of a pizza slice is unsurprisingly not ergonomic at all, especially when normal pizza slices you hold like this. Whereas with this doohickey, you just grip into the middle of the pizza. It feels so wrong. I wish there was like gross sound effects on every single button press too. But unfortunately, there's no sounds at all, which is pretty lame. But visually, this is undeniably my favorite design so far. It's so dumb. But after eating all that pizza, you're probably gonna want some dessert too. So good thing I also found a giant chocolate bar remote. This ridiculous gadget is a blight to TV remote design. First off, it has this horrific layout where everything is on a perfect grid. Every button is the same size and color, so it's literally impossible to tell which one is which. Even the labels are just a slight indent into the plastic. And on top of all that, it's so freaking big, you can barely even hold it with one hand. Also, another random nitpick is that these buttons are the most unsatisfying buttons I have ever pressed in my life. life. There's no feedback at all, so it doesn't even feel like you're pressing anything. Overall, this gadget goes against every single rule of TV remote design. What a mess. It's also another remote with no sound effects, but it does have one of its own special gimmicks. For some reason, this thing is apparently scented like a chocolate bar too. I remember loving the scented items as a kid, but in hindsight, it's a pretty stupid gimmick, not gonna lie. Especially for a TV remote of all things. Well, let's go ahead and give it a sniff, I guess. Scented chocolate TV remote. I'm gonna try it. Ew.
Does it smell like chocolate?
It smells like burnt plastic.
Does it smell like chocolate? But it's a chocolate bar.
I mean, I'm not gonna lie, there's like a hint of chocolate there still. No, this thing sucks. I mean, I still want to take a bite out of it though. Anyway, so far we've covered sports remotes and food-themed remotes, but there's also your fair share of branded remotes themed after different IPs, such as this Mickey Mouse surfboard remote. It even comes with an entire stand where Goofy holds up the surfboard for you. There's also a few lazy ones like the Simpsons and SpongeBob remotes, where they just slap their branding onto a normal remote shape. And this one isn't even an IP, it's just straight up a Harley-Davidson motorcycle engine as a TV remote. What a ridiculous combination, this thing looks insane. I bet you it makes motorcycle sound effects on every single button press too. God, I wish I had one. There's even this really cool Star Trek phaser TV remote. But instead of Star Trek, what about Star Wars? Because it turns out there's two whole Star Wars TV remotes. First off, we got Luke Skywalker's lightsaber, but as a TV remote. By the nature of what lightsabers are, this thing is such a peculiar item. The bulky cylindrical handle of a freaking sci-fi laser sword is now supposed to have a bunch of buttons to control a TV. So the way they designed this is they kinda just shoved all the buttons onto this coil looking section. And even though the remote is so big and bulky, the buttons are so freaking small. It just makes it such a weird angle to hold an entire lightsaber while pointing it at the TV while trying to press these tiny buttons. But after finally loading in the batteries, chat, we are so freaking back. It makes annoying ass lightsaber sounds on every single button press. I am way too happy about this information. Alright, so the volume and channel buttons make these obnoxious sound effects. And the power button just does like a swing sound effect. And all the other buttons make this weird little sound. These are easily the most fun sound effects out of any of these remotes. It's almost like you're really in the lightsaber battle. It's so immersive. At this point, this gizmo is more of a lightsaber soundboard toy than a TV remote. But next we have something even more insane. Darth Maul's entire spaceship turned into a TV remote. After opening it up, it comes in multiple pieces. When have you ever had to assemble a TV remote? This is ridiculous. After putting on the wings, as you can see, it is a fully modeled replica of an entire spaceship, but now covered in buttons. And they didn't spare a single detail. This is surprisingly well made. Just look at all the intricate carvings and shapes. Even the buttons are so seamlessly integrated into the ship design, so it looks surprisingly natural. And for some reason, even though they didn't adjust the shape at all, it still makes sense where the buttons go and how you hold it. Like, this guy's spaceship was meant to be a TV remote. It just fits way too well. And once again, after putting in the batteries, of course we have even more obnoxious sound effects. My favorite part of any good TV remote. First off, we got this default laser sound effect. There's also this sound. I don't really know what that is. And the volume does a machine gun sound, which is pretty fun. And finally, the power button plays a voice line. Once again, this is basically just a soundboard toy at this point. I guess you can immersively participate in the spaceship battles while you're watching Star Wars. But also, since you awkwardly hold it by the nose, whenever you press a button, it's technically shooting at you. And that sounds a bit too dangerous. So let's move on to the safest TV remote I could possibly find. The child-friendly Weemote. And no, I'm not talking about the Wii remote. It's the Weemote. Like, that's actually its name. And it's pretty much just a stupid-looking purple egg device with a few buttons on it. First off, there's only 5 number buttons that are all just random shapes and colors, and these are supposed to be pre-programmed TV channels for your child to watch, I guess. And besides that, there's a volume and channel button, and that's it. This thing sucks. I love how it's just covered in Comic Sans as well. Even the manual uses it. But how do you even program the channels in the first place? Well, it turns out there's an evil secret compartment that you can only access with a screwdriver. And within this horrifying secret dungeon, there's buttons for you to program stuff with. But honestly, I'm too lazy to figure it out though, so I don't really care. And funny enough, the fact that this doohickey is called the Weemote actually did cause some controversy, because it released in the year 2000, which is way before the Nintendo Wii came out in 2006. And even though the Nintendo Wii remote isn't actually called a Weemote, most people just started calling it that anyways. So the company that made this stupid egg Weemote thing, Forbes Technologies, got really mad about that. So they actually sent hundreds of cease and desist letters for trademark infringement, which Nintendo obviously didn't really care about. But anyways, those were all the silly TV remotes I could possibly find. This hidden world of novelty remotes is extremely niche and undocumented, so I'm sure there's so many more ridiculous devices out there just waiting to be found. I just find it really interesting that these things completely sacrifice so much convenience and standard design principles all for the sake of being silly, and I genuinely respect that so much. Some of them were just so freaking creative with how they integrated the buttons in the design. Like, a modern version of these that actually work with smart TVs would be so fun. Anyways, thanks for watching my video. Remember to like and subscribe and comment down below which remote is your favorite. And if you actually had a funny TV remote like this, please tell me about it in the comments. I'm so curious. Okay, bye!